Hello, everyone. This is Sachin Patel, and today with me, I have a very special guest, Dr. Eric Zielinski. Dr. Eric is just a phenomenal practitioner. I had the pleasure of connecting with him. It's been about a year now, right? That was at Dr. Osborne's event. Yeah, and he just blew my socks off with the knowledge, the information, but more importantly, the passion that he has, not only for essential oils, but just for helping people and serving humanity. So he's just been a great influence on me. You know, his positive attributes and qualities rub off on everyone around him. And that there's no pun intended there, Eric. So thank you for joining us today.
Thanks, man. I really appreciate you, bro. Love it. Love it. It's my honor and privilege. I'm here. I'm here to serve. I'm here to help. I got my chemistry and safety book I'm working on handy. I got notes. We're kicking it up a notch because we're talking to practitioners. So we could talk practitioner language versus, hey, I usually talk to just average everyday users so I can have a little more fun right now.
Yeah, let's do it. So the title of this presentation is the clinical applications of essential oils in functional medicine. And some people who are on this presentation may not necessarily know what the classical definition of essential oils are. In a functional medicine setting, usually essential oils mean things like fish oils. Maybe we can start with an operating definition of essential oils. But while you're giving that definition, I want everyone to type in where they're from and also what specialty they're in. So if you're a functional medicine practitioner, if there's a specific niche, if there's a specific audience that you work with, if there's specific questions that you have, this is going to be a place of pure knowledge and service and quality, high integrity information. So there's a lot that you can gain from this information. And I'll be perfectly honest, I wish I knew this many years ago. So let's just dive into this because we've got lots of content to cover. So just type in where you're from, what your clinical specialty is, what kind of help you're looking for, what kind of questions you have, while Eric gives us a operating definition of essential oils.
Yeah, Sachin, I agree with you. I wish a lot of us knew this several years ago. I wish that this type of information was taught in schools because, quite frankly, folks, as practitioners, we are way behind the eight ball. Essential oil use in America has reached critical mass. It's just about to hit critical mass in Australia and New Zealand. Europe is blowing up. Marketing experts predict exponential growth through the mid-2020s. We have big box stores like Walmart, Bed Bath & Beyond, Bath & Body Works now private labeling oils or having oil-based products in their repertoire. So here's what we have. We have a mass amount of people, like I'm not kidding, tens of millions of people in America around the globe that are using essential oils, going to you, going to me, going to their healthcare practitioners from every walk of life and saying, what do I do? And the reality is a lot of it's experimental. And we do not know, quite frankly, how oils interact with supplements, how oils interact with drugs. We'll talk a little bit about what we do know in a minute. But at the end of the day, what are essential oils? They are the volatile components of plants. So volatile meaning they evaporate. So anything that can last through the steam distillation process, those are the volatile components. Very light when you consider the Dalton, the actual molecular weight, extremely light, extremely delicate. And it takes a lot of plant matter to get them. So we know our ancestors have been using herbs, roots, resins, trees, bushes, blossoms for millennial for healing purposes. They make salves and poultices and they do other things with ointments. Well, what if you can extract that healing power from the plants and create a bottle, which we know as little essential oil? And in a nutshell, let me get an example. I got my props here. So, this little bottle is a 20 milliliter bottle. You're looking at roughly 40 pounds of lavender flowers in this little thing. I mean, just chew on that for a second. Like go out into your garden, pick up as much lavender as you can, and you barely get a pound. 40 pounds of it in this little thing, highly concentrated. And because of that, we have a lot of safety considerations because I'm telling you, as natural as I am, as granola as we want to be, you're not going to find essential oils in nature in the form that we see them here. I guarantee you're not going to go see a pool of lavender in a lavender field. You're not going to see a pool of orange in an orange grove. You have to extract them. So with that said, our bodies, I don't believe at all, have been designed by God to interact with these chemicals neat, undiluted, or straight. We always have to dilute them, use them properly, and consider dosage. And like everything, dosage is key. And I don't want to, I'm preaching to the choir here, but you're not going to tell your patient to go, hey, here's a box, or here's your probiotics, take as many as you want. No, you're going to give them a targeted supplement regimen, and it's the same exact thing I want to help you do with essential oils, because they need to know exactly what to do, or they can overdo it.
Yeah, I think you bring up a great point because we live in a more is more type of culture, and with essential oils in particular, less is more. So thanks for shedding some light on that.
Mm-hmm.
So just staying true kind of to the topic here, there's lots of input coming in and lots of practitioners from all over the world, which is great to see. We see things like people wanting to help with nutrition, so probably diet, people wanting help with chronic disease prevention and or management, people wanting to learn how to use this in their health coaching practices, the implications that they might use essential oils there, which is great. Family practitioners, are also looking for help and the clinical applications. But it's also important to note, like as a practitioner, you should be able to have an intelligent conversation about topics that your patients are coming in with. So if your patients are kind of stumping you on these things, or you're back on your heels when people talk about essential oils, then even that part of this dialogue, I think, will be very relevant to most people. And if you don't know about essential oils, at least now you have a reference, right? So, I've got Eric's book here. There we go, The Healing Power of Essential Oils, which is available right now. Fantastic book. I got a pre-release copy, which was excellent to read. And it's just, you've put a lot of work and effort and thought into this. And I noticed reading your book, you're very careful to make claims, which I really like about you, because there's, especially when you're dealing with practitioners, you hear and see all kinds of radical claims that people make, and people get in trouble doing stuff like that. And they get, and that's something that I did want to discuss with you, that you do tread very carefully and very lightly, and you don't make any radical claims, and everything you say is supported by literature, which is another important thing. And I know for practitioners, that's very important. Where is the proof, right? Your upline is not necessarily the proof, or your downline isn't the proof that this stuff works. Where is the evidence that this works? So I really like that about your work. And for those practitioners that are watching that, one of the things that you'll note about Eric is he's very choice with the language that he uses. And that's important for you to pay attention to as well, because you could piggyback off of what he's saying and what you learn from today.
Satch, I think it's a good point to mention here. I'm glad you brought that up. If you sell a product, whatever it is, a supplement, an oil, you now become restricted in your language. At least in America, the Food and Drug Administration literally restricts your First Amendment right of freedom of speech, because these supplements and essential oils are not monitored by the FDA. They're not considered drugs. So anything that you use an actual disease name to, it's called a drug claim, and that could get you in trouble. And I've personally known people that have either been put out of practice, their website shut down, and they've gotten in trouble. Here's what I do. I don't sell them. Like, that's my secret sauce. I'm a trained public health researcher. I'm a trained aromatherapist. I could quote research all day long and be safe, because again, I'm not monetizing on the sale of the product itself. And so if you are selling it, just realize you got to be really careful. You have to use words like respiratory support. You can't use words like asthma. You can't say cancer and oils. You have to say, yes, this could help build the immune system. And there's things that you can't literally say. And that's why, really, Satch, that's why I wrote my book. That's why I create my masterclass. Like, I've literally become the voice of millions of people. I had no idea. Like, I have nearly 6 million people now visit my website every year. Many of them are distributors for multi-level marketers, marketing companies. Many of them are you watching right now, practitioners. You refer people to my website, my book, my masterclass, because I could say the things you can't. And also it helps you sell your product, because I teach people to use them in a way that basically takes you out of the picture. Like, hey, you focus on what you do best. Let me focus on what I do best. And I just really appreciate our special niches. So just be careful, folks, because at the end of the day, it's not worth it. And especially those of you who monetize off of the sale of an essential oil, you want to teach your online, you want to teach your team to communicate in a way where they won't get in trouble either. And so, yeah, I mean, I have, I'll even give it to you. 3 books that I lived and breathed that helped me write my book. There's 3 resources. For those of you, my book, please. You need my book and you need my masterclass to get the basics. Like literally, I want everyone watching to understand the fundamental principles of dilution, of contraindications, of safety, DIY. Why? Because like Sachin said, your patients are going to ask you, and I've learned this just from simple retention business. They're going to go to someone who fits their needs. And they're going to go to a trusted healthcare provider that could help them in just more ways than one. And if you become a resource for them, whether it's whatever it is, to meet their physical need, to answer their questions, I'm telling you something, you will be a lifelong family practitioner for many people for many generations. And this is just one piece of the pie. I really do. And I suggest spend a few hours with me, go through my masterclass, master this material. And for those of you who are interested in diving deeper, there's a couple resources. One is by Jane Buckle, a very good resource because she's a PhD and a nurse, and she wrote the book on clinical aromatherapy. And I got to give props to our boy, Dr. Oz, because he wrote the foreword on this thing. So he's one of us. Actually, I love that because we know that more and more people are out there supporting. Shirley and Len Price also wrote a fantastic book on aromatherapy for healthcare practitioners. Again, there's 3 resources I recommend. And the last one is the Bible, the Essential Oil Safety Bible by Rodney Young and Tisserand. This is the aromatherapy guidebook. So those of you who are chiropractors, we have Yoakum and Rowe, right? Remember Yoakum and Rowe for those?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I still have PTSD from radiology class. This is our version. This is your guidance physiology if you're in aromatherapy. Pick up these 3 books because it's a good reference. So if you have a patient who's on a specific drug, you could look it up. And if the research is there, you'll find it, or at least you'll get some basic contraindications, max dermal doses, max internal doses. And for those of you who are really trying to help people truly prevent and treat disease, these are good resources. Okay. So again, I'm not here to this is fun where I could talk to practitioner, but 99% of what I do is help the layperson, which is my target audience, because these are the folks that are trying to figure it out. So at the end of the day, I applaud you for those of you who are on right now, because you are really giving yourself a competitive advantage against a lot of the folks in your space near you, because they're not even willing to take the time. And it's this stuff. It's learning about the key popular health topics like the ketogenic diet. Like that is the most #1 popular search term on Google right now in health, keto diet. If you don't know about the keto diet, take some time and learn, because your patients are going to ask you. Number 2 or 3 in the list is essential oils. So again, I want to applaud you because it's a good business decision too.
Awesome. And it's important to understand for everyone that the consumer is what drives the market, especially in a cash-centric practice. If you're a functional medicine practitioner, then patients are coming to you. They expect you to be knowledgeable in these things. So once again, I applaud you as well for joining us, and some of you on very short notice. So it's great to see you, and it's great to, it's going to be great to field all the questions that you have. So that being said, Eric, what do you find is, the most popular use for essential oils? Is there a particular condition that you found to be the most common use for essential oils? That's a tough question, I know.
It is. I'm going, what does the research say? What do people say? By and large, 2 things that I've seen that go with both. So we have the anecdotal, we have countless case studies, countless people sharing. And then we have research to support 2 things that stick out. One is pain, whether systemic or chronic, local, acute pain. And the other is mood. And when you look at it, we have an epidemic. And opioids are not going away anytime soon. And the long-term ramifications. And I graduated from Life University in Atlanta. I just sat through a bunch of clinical continuing education. I sat through 8 hours one day of just about opioids and find out its correlation to everything from cancer to autoimmunity to just, it's just unbelievable. And to get someone off, to free someone of pain medication can literally save their life. And can essential oils do it? Yes. I mean, if you on a step down approach, you could literally help replace their painkillers. And for those people who are battling, because there is the comorbidity of depression that goes along with abuse, essential oils can help too. I mean, really, next to none of all the research that I've seen is mood elevation with citrus oils. It's just unbelievable what they could do. And just think of it, guys and gals, think about going back to anatomy and physiology class, just the direct olfactory response to the limbic system from smell. That's what we're triggering here. Like, that's what we're triggering here. And for those of you who have experience with aromatherapy, you've seen it. And for those of you who have seen how post-traumatic stress can be triggered by smell immediately, and how your memories can be triggered by smell. Like, every time, I use this example all the time, but every time I walk by a woman who's wearing the same perfume as my first girlfriend 20 years ago, it brings me back to my first girlfriend immediately. And other than interviews, when I mention this example, I don't think of her. If she's watching, Becky, I love you. It's been 20 years. You're my sweetest. But it brings me back. And the same thing as you, for those of you who focus on life coaching, who focus on emotional counseling, support, whatever it might be, I'm telling you, smell can be your best friend, or also can be your worst nightmare if it's not used properly. So mood elevation, orange oil, for example, is a proven antidepressant. I mean, it's unbelievable what orange oil can do. And not only orange oil, but all the citrus oils. And citrus oils have a great effect, just mood and just emotions in general. Bergamot oil is a fantastic replacement for benzodiazepines. I mean, for anyone that's battling any sort of anxiety condition, it's bergamot over and over and over again. And we all hear lavender sedative. Lavender is very calming. It is, don't get me wrong. But when you could take something that doesn't dope you up, and I'm an adrenaline junkie. I just am. I always have been. And I only like to use sedative properties at nighttime. I don't want to put someone on lavender or have them take a benzodiazepine in the middle of the day, because they're just going to be doped out the rest of the day. I don't want them to have that experience. So I'd rather give them an uplifting way of elevating mood and decreasing anxiety. And that's what bergamot is. I love it. Same thing with neroli, also known as orange blossom, lemon, grapefruit, lime, key lime. These are fantastic solutions. Petitgrain, these are fantastic natural solutions that you could use via inhalation, and that could be a number of different ways. And we could talk about application specifically, but I just kind of want to give you a big picture. And when pain, I mean, bar none, our enemy, and I think we all agree, I think at this point, we all talk about inflammation, right? I mean, that seems to be the buzzword in our space. If we can all agree that inflammation, if whatever the cause, diet, stress, anxiety, abuse, there's so many reasons, so many things that cause inflammation, environmental toxins, if we can all agree that limiting the chronic systemic inflammatory response that's rampant in our society is the key to reversing chronic disease, then how do we approach that? And I have found, bar none, internal use of essential oils like copaiba, orange again, frankincense, peppermint, fantastic. Not only the analgesics, but they actually literally calm the inflammatory response in the body. And because oils are transdermal, they penetrate into the cellular level of your body. They're, in my opinion, they're a lot better than DMSO. We want to talk about DMSO because someone actually asked about that on your Facebook page.
Yep.
But yeah, I think they're better. And I don't think they should be used with DSMO. That's just my opinion. But when it comes down to it, if you want something into your bloodstream, if you want to get, because again, the Daltons are so, the molecular weight is so light. These oils, when you ingest them and even apply them topically, will penetrate into your bloodstream within minutes. They will become systemic. They will help your body. And for people with chronic fatigue syndrome, chronic pain syndrome, fibromyalgia, again, pain, doesn't matter what it is. People are finding great relief. And we all know NSAIDs, and we want to get people off of this stuff. Like the link the link for these drugs on heart disease has been shocking to me. I mean, people are taking baby aspirins to help prevent, heart attack or cardiac arrest, and it's actually creating the exact opposite because of microdermabrasions in their arterial vessels, and now they're getting inflammation. It's like, it's crazy what we're doing to people. Well, why not stop that? I'd rather them take a couple drops of copaiba every day or something like that. You know what I mean? So anyway, we could go long about that, but pain and mood are the two.
Okay, absolutely. And, I posted a link for all of you to see. Eric's got a free masterclass that he's doing. So I wanted to make sure I made that available to everyone. Eric, do you want to talk a little bit about that? Because just so you guys know, like full disclosure, we're not going to be able to cover and extract everything out of Eric's brain, but I know he's poured a lot of time and energy into this masterclass series. So maybe we can talk about that briefly, and then we can dive a little bit deeper into some of these other topics.
Yeah. So we have a need, and I've gotten tens of thousands of comments and questions and things over the few years that I've been doing this online. And a lot of the same questions, a lot of the same problems, a lot of the same concerns. So my wife and I, we've took everything that we've known. My wife has been using essential oils for 25 years, and I've interviewed all the experts around the globe, and I've written the books on it and stuff. So we've created a really easy to follow 20-minute lesson plan, like 10 lessons, 20 minutes a pop, a little bit less, keep it short, keep it sweet, keep it to the facts. And we teach people everything from aromatherapy 101 to how to properly inhale essential oils, use them topically, the contraindications, the safety tips of internal use. We cover the DIY topics, like literally, what does it look like, how to make homemade preparations, and it's a lot more scientific than people think. How to cook with essential oils, and also we tackle how to prevent, treat disease, and then we go to advanced strategies and protocols, and we talk about things like leaky gut and cancer specifically. And so this is a really good beginner level. I want to get a good foundation of essential oils. And I don't want to invest, let's say, 300 hours in an aromatherapy course, which people do, which I did. And so it's taking that. And I would want to see literally every practitioner take the course to get the foundation. And for those of them who want to go deeper, then buy the books, buy the clinical books, buy your textbooks like I have. But you got to understand what your patient is understanding. And I'm telling you something, your patients, after they go through this class, are going to know a lot about more than you, and you don't want that. So that's really it. It's just going to get everyone up to speed, and it will empower folks. And I would say this much, you're going to get a couple aha moments. I pull out some really fun research and some other things that teach you just outside, like why are we in the state that we're in? And hopefully you find it entertaining too, because it's not one of these talking head videos that we just go over. It's pretty good. You're going to like it.
Yes. Awesome. And I've had a chance to take a peek at some of the videos in the pre-release of the course. And it's just great. Like, you're such a passionate speaker. You could tell that this is something that, you've got down to a fine art. And, obviously your whole family's involved in this, right? Just like yourself, my wife is involved in my business, and, she's extremely passionate about what we do. And I know Mama Z is super passionate about essential oils, and she's just an awesome person. So it's great to see both of you working together, spreading this information with the entire world. I did want to speak to the clinicians a little bit and help them understand some of the challenges that essential oils can help solve. So some of the things that I note with essential oils is that patients these days don't want to take as many pills, right? And so oils can help solve pill burdens. Sometimes you might have people who have a hard time swallowing pills, even though they might want to, or they might need to, and they're willing to do it, but they might have a hard time, especially with some of our thyroid patients. So essential oils can be great at reducing pill burden. It's also important to note that if you're not recommending oils to be used appropriately, or if your patients are using them inappropriately, then they might be using too much of the oil, which means they're actually wasting money. That's another thing to take into consideration. Oils actually are very, very inexpensive. No matter how expensive that bottle is, the actual utilization, the amount of oil that you need is actually very little. So like I said earlier, a little bit goes a long way. So you can help reduce costs, which we know as functional medicine practitioners is something we have to be sensitive to with our patients, especially those with chronic illnesses. So oils can really stretch a patient's budget out, at least from my experience. Maybe we can we can talk a little bit about that. So pill burden is something that oils can help with. Cost is something that oils can help with. And the other thing that I really like about oils is that especially if you're diffusing them in your home, versus a supplement where one person takes it and only they benefit. But if you've got, a nice oil like an orange oil diffusing in somebody's home, then everybody that can smell it benefits from it. So there's a exponential benefit factor when you're using oils, especially if you're using them in a diffuser type of utilization. So maybe we could talk about some of the other clinical benefits of using essential oils for functional medicine practitioners specifically. If you had any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I just made a note. Trust me, folks, I promise you this. Patient misuse of essential oils can negate your protocols. You need to understand what they're doing. And you need to create a healthy environment where they're going to tell you. Because the last thing you want is you want, of course, your patient to be compliant, and assuming that they are. But if they're doing other things that could, magnify or decrease the effectiveness of whatever said protocol it is that you have them doing, that is going to make you crazy. You're just not going to know. I mean, again, think of a clinical trial where researchers control every variable that can. As much that you can help control and know, at least be aware of what your patients are doing, the better. And that's one thing that I want to highly encourage all of you all, at the very least, is just to get really familiar and asking people. I think it should be part of everyone's health questionnaire. Ask them, are you taking essential oils? I mean, the ability of an essential oil to interact with drugs is very profound. The ability of an essential oil to interact with supplements are very profound. And so you need to know that. And I don't see it on healthcare. I don't see it on health histories. I see supplements. Are you taking supplements? Which ones? And I don't even, some practitioners just take that for what it is and try to use it as a way to sell their own supplements. But there's a reason we ask these questions. And essential oils can change physiology like nothing else, over the counter, really, like nothing else. So I think that's a really key take home, is that once you get the basics down, once you understand the fundamental concepts, once you start getting a couple of these reference books, you really go back to school again, you go back to practice, and it's fun. I mean, I don't know about you, but I'm assuming many of you love to learn. Why else are you going to spend, it's 8:30 Eastern at night? Like, why are you hanging out with us at night? You want to learn. And so I want to encourage you to satisfy that desire in you to learn and to be educated, but also, I promise you this, I really do, you will be a better practitioner. You will get better results by at least knowing what's happening, so you can make adjustments. And we have found that oils, clinical research has suggested oils help enzymes, digestive enzymes that people take. Oils actually help chemotherapy. Oils actually help probiotics be more effective. And if you think of it, it makes a lot of sense. It's just the same thing with DMSO. I mean, we all know, dimethyl. It's kind of scares me because it's a byproduct of the paper industry. People get a very funky garlic taste in their mouth after they apply it on their skin. I'm not the biggest fan of it. It's not, quote, natural to me. People like it because it acts as a carrier. It helps the body absorb drugs better. It helps actually treat inflammation and other pain conditions. And I'm telling you, diluted essential oils, in my opinion, is a much safer and more alternative than DMSO. And safe essential oil, diluted essential oil use on your body can literally help supplements, and I will just say it, chemotherapy. It's improving. It actually helps chemotherapy be more effective. And for those of you who have patients that are cancer patients that are on chemotherapy, what are you going to do? You recommend essential oils. Like I just, another patient we were helping, stage 2 breast cancer. She had 4 rounds of chemo. The cancer is gone after a month. It's the second time it's happened over the course that we've been working with women with breast cancer. And their doctor oncologist says, what are you doing? I've never seen this happen so quickly. Well, it's because the oils are helping magnify and help the body absorb the chemotherapy. Why? Because a lot of drugs aren't soluble and they can't penetrate into the cell. A lot of drugs aren't, again, lipid soluble, can't get into the brain. No blood, the blood-brain barrier blocks a lot of drugs. Well, oils can. So with that said, I think you'll find, here's an interesting thing too. I think, and Sachin, you and I had a good conversation about this, about how we're actually trying to get people not taking more supplements. Like, people aren't every supplement pill deficient. You'll find that using essential oils, you can actually decrease the dose of the supplements that you're taking. And how do you know? You monitor, you take your blood levels, you're doing your case histories, you are the practitioner. And as you evaluate your patient, you'll find, like, wow, this is wild. And it goes back to nature in its purest sense. And so with that, you're going to be saving like Sachin said, you're going to be saving your patients money. You're going to earn their confidence. You're going to say, hey, guess what? You don't have to take this, and you don't have to take this anymore. Like, what? How many doctors say that? Most doctors are like, hey, you got to do something else now. Here's another pill. Oh, we got to up your levels. And so we're reshaping the paradigm of how medicine is being practiced around the globe. And we're not just pushing things at people for the sake of pushing things at people.
I want to echo something that you said. I wrote it down. I'm taking a whole bunch of notes myself. We actually don't ask that on our intake form. And I'm going to make sure that we add that to our intake form to note if people are taking essential oils, because it could be one of the most powerful therapeutic arsenals that somebody's using. And certainly you want to be conscious and mindful of that, and especially ask them, what they think they're using the oil for,
yes,
to make sure that they're actually using it for the intention. And there might even be something better that they can use
yes,
if we have the right knowledge as well. So thanks for sharing that. I think that's really relevant. And if you're a practitioner watching this, that probably needs to go on your intake form, or at least if you don't put it on your printed intake forms because you've already printed them, it needs to come up in conversation.
Yeah. And ask them specifically, how do you take them? Because you'll be surprised. Internal, you do inhale them, because there's 3 ways: inhalation,
right,
internal, and topical. Ask them. And you'll be, again, people that are taking, if they are ingesting essential oils, that will affect your protocols, guaranteed.
Okay, good to note.
Yep.
And I wanted to bring this up. I know the answer, but I want to make sure everyone else knows this. The correlation between the scent of the oil and its therapeutic potency and also its therapeutic values, because sometimes you might smell an oil and be like, oh, I don't like the way this smells, but that the compounds that produce the odor of the oil and the therapeutic benefits may not necessarily be the same. So maybe you can comment on that too.
So just so I understand, Seth, you saying how someone perceives the smell in relation to the actual therapeutic benefit?
Well, the therapeutic compounds are not necessarily the ones that produce the smell. Is that right? Or do I have that wrong?
I'm sorry, you broke up.
That's okay. So the therapeutic, the smell of the oil, the compounds in the oil that produce the smell that we smell, are those the same compounds that produce the therapeutic effect?
Yes. That's what they are. So think of it this way: the compounds of the plant matter that trigger the olfactory response are the essential oils. They are the, quote, volatile organic compounds. And something important, folks, too, and just knowing these little things just make you seem so much smarter and more qualified as a practitioner. Like, literally saying to someone, hey, essential oils, there are no nutrition. I mean, literally, you're not going to get vitamins and minerals. There's nothing like this. This is biochemistry, folks. Ketones, esters, terpenes. What is that stuff? There's no nutrition in this at all. It literally are straight up phytochemicals. And if you communicate that to people, because people think they're taking a drop of lemon and they're getting vitamin C, like, no, it doesn't work like that. And they're also, here's the other thing too, how many folks can't have grapefruit because they're on some sort of cardiac health drug or what it might be, right? Because grapefruit is contraindicated for so many things. Well, grapefruit oil is extracted from the rind. It's not extracted from the fruit. So you answer to your patient. This is one I get this all the time. Like, I can't have grapefruit. What else can I have? I'm like, well, why can't you have grapefruit? I would want to double check because there's a lot of benefit to grapefruit. For example, lipolysis, decrease hunger cravings. Like literally inhaling grapefruit will help your body burn fat. How? Because it stimulates the sympathetic response in the body to literally burn fat. It will actually help curb hunger craving. I can't prove it, but just from what I know about physiology, leptin and ghrelin are the two hormones that we're always battling to help people decrease their cravings and increase their ability to feel full. And we haven't figured out the mechanism, but I can only think it's that. I mean, when you inhale grapefruit and you feel as hungry as you did 20 minutes ago, well, there's must be a reason why. Gotta be leptin. And so when you think of it that way, I don't want people to not enjoy these, like, for example, fat burning, hunger suppressing oils just because they're afraid of a potential drug interaction. Like they kind of have, you got to try it with them. You got to monitor their progress, and just knowing those little things just really just helps you serve in such a bigger way.
Okay, beautiful. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to share not a diagnosis, but a set of symptoms. And we're going to do a rapid fire round here. How does that sound? You up for that?
I got my sip of tea. Let's do it.
Okay. So one of the biggest things that we need to get our patients to do better is sleep deeper, because that's when most of their healing actually takes place. And, you know, people are very sympathetic dominant. So what oils would you suggest to enhance sleep?
Yeah. You would want an arsenal, lavender, Roman chamomile, Ylang-ylang, vetiver, and cedar wood. Actually, any wood.
Okay. Like I said, I'm taking notes. Let's talk about metabolism. You did touch on that a little bit, but what oils help enhance metabolism?
Yeah, we got grapefruit, we have lime, and peppermint and cinnamon.
Okay. How about memory and cognition?
Rosemary is the herb of remembrance. Just always remember that. That is one of the main ones. Also, Litsea, peppermint, again, for just for alertness, helping clarity. Peppermint, Ravensara, which is a little different. Ravent and Ravensara. And yeah, that's good.
Okay. You did mention a few of these earlier, but pain.
Yeah, pain, analgesic, copaiba, frankincense, marjoram, basil, orange.
Okay. And would you apply those topically or would you ingest those?
Both. And capsule. Folks, capsule. You want to create a blend. And this is the key. Create a blend. Have them create a blend, 2 to 3 to 4 oils. Try it out. 3 drops in a gel capsule. They could get online, super cost effective, and add coconut oil or olive oil in it as a carrier. They could take that blend 2 to 3 times a day. And here's a side note. The half-life of essential oils is extremely short. Research has shown that complete metabolism after application within an hour. So it's very, very fascinating. Oils will penetrate the bloodstream. If you apply it topically within 5 minutes, full concentration can be detected after 20 minutes, and they're gone after an hour and a half. That's fascinating. So you want to keep that in mind. You want to have people apply these every 3 or 4 hours and just realize that, you know, they're not going to have long-term residual effects.
Okay, great. And then how about digestion?
Digestion, you have several oils like thyme, tarragon, oregano, believe it or not, in an enteric-coated, polymer-coated capsule, time release. That is the solution for leaky gut. Actually been shown to repair the microvilli of leaky gut. Cardamom, caraway, peppermint, I said, Yep, lemon is great for nausea, and fennel and ginger. Yep, fennel and ginger.
You know, I actually add cardamom oil to my coffee.
Yeah.
So it tastes quite good. Another big one is immune regulation.
Yeah. You know, most companies, whatever brand you sell, they always have their immune blend. Typically, you'll see cinnamon, clove, eucalyptus, rosemary, orange, lemon, frankincense. Like that's a blend. Add those 7. Add those 7 in a blend. That's a great blend to have. And there's a number of them. Clove has some of the highest antioxidant properties of anything on the planet. The reason why these major companies use, but this is the core blend.
Okay. Awesome. And then a big one, a big benefit of essential oil use is the ease of use for children. And again, we want to be mindful of concentration and how much of these products we use. But a few things that come up for children would be focus, phobias, OCD, speech. There's a question coming in about that. So maybe let's comment on focus for children first.
Yeah, I want to stress that children need to be treated, all special populations. I would include children, pregnant women, and geriatric patients need to be treated with extreme care. You want to dilute to 1% or below. If you don't know what that is, 1% is 6 drops in total of essential oils per 1 ounce of carrier. So if you got a paper and pencil, write this down, or you can download my chart or take my class, you'll get it. But there's 600 drops of oil in an ounce. So if you're using an ounce of carrier oil, like coconut, jojoba, almond, whatever it might be, you have an ounce as a starter. That's the carrier oil. 600 drops. 1% of that is 6. 2% of that is 5% of that's 30. You kind of do the math. So for children, less than 1% up until about 5 years old, then you can kind of scale it up. Teenagers, that's fine. 2% is the standard dose for topical. Babies, be very careful, but you could still use 0.5% for babies, geriatric patients, and pregnant mamas, because their skin is just like a sponge and they absorb it. Very sensitive. So keep that in mind. Also keep that in mind when you're diffusing. You can't see it, but I got a diffuser always kicking right there, my little diffuser there. In a well-ventilated room. Same thing with pets. A lot of your patients have pets. They need to know this. You want to diffuse in a well-ventilated room. There's no concern. And to kind of go on a little quick soapbox, your patients are going to be more concerned about using essential oils around their kids than they are concerned about spraying Febreze. There's something wrong with that. People have wallflowers and Glade plugins all day long emitting neurotoxic chemicals, proven to cause cancer, dementia, and Alzheimer's. They're doing it all day long. But they're freaking out about putting a couple drops of oil in their diffuser around their baby. That's nonsense. That's what I teach people. A, it's nonsense. B, let's use the real deal instead of. So if they just put a few drops, they can enjoy nice, just beautiful inhalation benefit from the plant-based matter. So with that said, kids, there's so many different things. And when it comes to focus, frankincense, sandalwood, myrrh, these are oils that really come again and again for ADHD and a lot of children battling with any sort of attention deficit disorder. Now, when it comes to any sort of, well, also you could say for focus and clarity in general, rosemary, go back to what we just discussed too. Rosemary, the herb of remembrance, if you really want to help children create that place where they could just kind of focus and stop the craziness. You gotta do a little trial and error, especially with kids, because they're so sensitive to things. Some children, believe it or not, it's been shown with ADHD, they get really excited and they get overstimulated with lavender. I mean, that's counterintuitive. You'd think lavender is calming, right? Well, not for kids with ADHD sometimes. So especially with children that are on the spectrum or children with any sort of learning disability at all, you got to be really careful, because there's no box to put them in. When it comes, when we're talking about, did you say speech impediments and things like that?
Yep.
Yeah. So I am, I guess we could call it a surviving, or I don't know what the word is. I used to have a chronic stammering condition. I guess you can say I'm in remission. I'm healed. I am a firm believer, because the research is not conclusive on this, but man, I was in speech therapy when I was 5 years old for years, and nothing helped me until I just came to a point. I had like a spiritual revelation that just helped me come to peace with myself. I have found the research is inconclusive on this, but I'm convinced that stammering and any sort of speech impediment that can't be linked to a physical deformity is linked to anxiety, linked to fear, linked to some deep-rooted stress that happened in the womb we don't even know. And so what I would want to do is I would really want to treat the for the child to be anxious, to be stressed. And Ylang-ylang works wonders. We'll go back to the ones we just talked about. You know, what did I say? Bergamot is fantastic. Neroli. You have for anxiety, try lavender, try valerian root, try Roman chamomile. Those woods we mentioned before, the cedar wood, the hoe wood, the agar wood. You know, you try to find what helps that kid just reach peace. And I'll just tell you, you know, Sachin, I know when I'm out of balance because I'll stutter, even today. Right now, I'm kind of cool. I got it under control. I'm not anxious. I'm not stressed. And I'm speaking very fluently. And people, they're shocked when I tell them I was a chronic stammerer when I was a kid. And I didn't grow out of it. I found peace. And so that would be my suggestion. And what else? What else did you mention?
I think it was phobias.
Yeah, fear. I mean, and anxiety, I think, would be at the root of a lot of that. Those oils we just mentioned, really anti-anxiety oils. In my master class, I actually have a list of the anti-anxiety oils. There's one called Mei Chang. It's hard to get. There's a variety of oils that research has suggested, but I have a list. And it's on my website too. Go to drergz.com, type up anxiety, and I pull up a list. And here's the other thing too. We mentioned sleep. I know you know this, right? But there's a direct cyclical experience in relationship between sleep and anxiety. So sleep disorders causes anxiety, and anxiety disorders cause insomnia. And so we find it actually compounding each other. Someone, whether or not they start with disorders or whether they start with anxiety. So you'll see a lot of the kids with anxiety disorders have sleep disorders, and then that affects phobia, and that affects a lot of different other things. So we want to get them sleeping better. We want to get them calm, and we want to help them create a safe place. And that's one thing your patients can do. They can't control what happens at school unless they're homeschooled. They can't control what happens other places, but in their home, they can make it a safe haven. And they could have diffusers. They could make sure they're using non-toxic cleaners. They can make sure they're not putting junk full of parabens and other neurotoxins on their kids' skin.
Yes, excellent points.
Sorry,
and
patients.
You know, I wanted to, you know, I guess I wanted to go back to something that you said, which I think is very relevant, and I know very near and dear to you, right? Because you've got an awesome family. I have my one son, and one of the things that I talk about is how we need to protect our children from the things that are unfortunately being done to them, and because of their tiny little body weight and their tiny little bodies, the concentration of these things is quite significant in their bodies, right? So the toxins that they're exposed to when families are using air fresheners, and if they're using them in schools, hopefully they're not, but you know, it adds up pretty quickly. And us growing up, we weren't exposed to these things, right? These are relatively new chemicals and compounds and products that are being introduced into people's homes. And oils can provide a very, very, you know, therapeutic alternative, right? There's nothing therapeutic about Febreze, right? There's no benefit to it whatsoever. Something also that I wanted to ask you about is if a child is studying and they're using a specific blend, let's say we figure out, okay, this is the right blend for this individual, and would they need to have that blend or even just a few drops of that oil right before their test? Like, is that something they could rub into their hands before they give that test, because that would help them increase recall? Is there any evidence or data to support that, or any ideas around that?
Go back to the half-life. Go back to the fact that the body will metabolize these oils if you put them topically or ingest them within about an hour and a half. So think about that. So if you have a test at 4 o'clock, you apply the oils at 8 in the morning, they're gone. I mean, the body will metabolize them. However, you got your arsenal, okay? This is a therapy inhaler. It looks like a lipstick tube. You could literally put in a focus blend that make it super easy. A couple dollars on Amazon, glass encased tube with a cotton swab in the middle. You put 20 to 30 drops of essential oil. You make a blend. You put the cotton swab in here, and you have on the go. And I would think any teacher would allow a student to have this around them even during the test. Again, see it. I'm not hiding a piece of paper. I'm not cheating here. And if you get your patient, if you actually can write a script for your patient and say, hey, this student needs extra support, this is an accommodation. They need to inhale this aromatherapy. It won't affect any other student because, again, this is isolated. And that's one thing I hear in schools. Teachers are being lambasted because they have diffusers and it's giving kids headaches or it's causing other kids whatever. I mean, you just don't know how this one oil is going to act differently for everyone. And so this is isolated. You just inhale this, you smell this, it's on the go. Before, if you want more of a higher concentration, create like a spritzer, you know, a little bit of organic grain alcohol, witch hazel, some essential oils, 20 drops of each, organic grain alcohol, Everclear, witch hazel, and 20 drops of essential oil in like a 2-ounce glass spritzer bottle with small water. Like this, my hand sanitizer. That's the other thing too. Get your patients off a hand sanitizer that's just full of sand, registered pesticides, since this season is horrible. So they could spray it on themselves, and they can actually do this just a couple times right before they walk in the classroom, or if any of your adult patients deal with anxiety for work presentations or any sort of performance anxiety, including sex, by the way. There's something profound when it comes to sexual performance anxiety and Ylang-ylang. That's a whole nother topic. I'm thinking about that because we have a libido class for my inner circle next week. Also, is this aromatherapy roller bottle? It's just a dilution of 2%. You can create really easy, and anyone can put it on right here in the back of the neck. And this is the kid's cologne or perfume, and they can walk into a classroom, apply this on right before they go take their test. Or again, adults who struggle with whatever it might be. Maybe like us, what did you do, Sachin, when you're going to take your national boards, or if you have another exam for IFM or whatever it might be? You could use these things to help.
Okay, excellent response. Thank you. We've got some questions coming in, so I do want to make sure that I do address those. So if you haven't typed in a question, if we haven't answered something for you, then certainly feel free to type that in, and I'll make sure that Eric's able to address those questions. We do have a question about, let's see here. How do we know oils are not polluted with heavy metals, environmental toxins, and pesticides? That's a great question, Lisa.
Yeah, it really all boils down to trust in the company, and they should be know the chemicals that are in the oil. Okay. So any good quality company will be transparent, and they will show you, hey, this is what the report says on this batch, and it's batch specific. Okay. I am in that question. Inherently, you're asking also, I'm conjecturing that you're also asking, is organic worthwhile? Maybe not, but let's pretend you're asking that too, because I get that. That's the underlying question. Organic, is it necessary? Yes and no. Why? Because you cannot guarantee that the end product of essential oil will be organic, free of pesticides and contaminants after the whole entire process of taking the plant, extracting it, and manufacturing it. Perfect example. 2014, there was a major conference in Rome, Italy, that evaluated, it was an aromatherapy conference, and they evaluated several different oils and side residue that were, quote, organic, and they found dozens of different oils that had pesticide residues, even though they came from organic farms. And well, it's obvious why, because of runoff, because even though your farm here is organic Monsanto 20 miles away is spraying, and you have water runoff, you have driftwind, you have spraying, and especially citrus oils, because you got to think citrus oils are extracted from the rind. The rind is exposed to the air. And even though, again, that's a certified organic farm, meaning they don't use, or they use organic pesticides, non-organic pesticides, they don't use. And so I'm a big fan of organic in nature, and indigenous sourcing is key, because this blew my mind. I'm not a botanist, but my father-in-law is an agri-scientist, and he was explaining this to me. You know, when you have a native plant in its native environment, it's just nature. It's how God created it. That plant doesn't need pesticides because that plant has natural mechanisms, aka the essential oil, like citronella and others, that have natural deterrents. That's what these oils do. They heal the plant. They deter vectors. They are the natural pesticides, herbicides. And so when it comes down to it, the likelihood of a plant to need chemicals to keep it free of fungus, free of vectors, is slim if they are indigenously grown, meaning in their native environment. So I would think that would be first. That would help. But also, if you're concerned about heavy metals, if you're concerned about contaminants, you've got to get the report. And they should not have them. I mean, quite frankly, an essential oil company that is selling pure essential oils, it should just be pure plant chemistry.
Okay. Rita's asking, do you mind just holding up the books that you mentioned, the 3 books that you mentioned? Maybe she can take a screenshot of those. I'll be sure to share them in the replay notes.
Yeah. Clinical Aromatherapy, and all these are available on Amazon. Clinical Aromatherapy by Dr. Jane Buckle. And then you have Church Hill Press, Livingstone, Elsevier, Aromatherapy for Health Professionals. Perfect. And the Aromatherapy Safety Bible, Robert Tisserand and Rodney Young, Essential Oils Safety. These are really, next to my aromatherapy certification manual, these are my reference, and that's it. I mean, I know there's got to be more, but not much, and not much really at all, unfortunately.
Okay, and we have another person asking about chronic diseases like Lyme, mast cell disease. Are there any oils that you think might be able to help them? And I don't want to put you on the spot here because we're not trying to. Somebody with these kind of conditions has deeper things that need to be probably evaluated and spoken to. But since it's on here, I'm just going to ask anyways.
Yeah, it's a good question because there's this, and it's a good question. The answer is, as far as I understand, the answer is no, to actually treat the actual disease. But we don't know, and there's this. As a practitioner, I want you to leave with one thing. A lot of things. You heard a lot of good stuff actually today. I love this interview, Perception. You're fantastic. Thank you so much. A take I want you all to leave with is your patients who are using oils, they most likely are buying into this concept. And quite frankly, it's a multi-level marketing concept. It is. It's a slogan. There is an oil for that. That's what they're thinking. And quite frankly, that's no different than the mindset than the medical community says, hey, antibiotics can cure everything. It's the same kind of concept. Oh, you have a cold? Take this white pill. Same exact white pill that this person takes and that person takes. It's like this. There's an oil for that. So with that said, understand that your patient will walk in most likely thinking that. And so we have research to suggest oils can help with a lot of things. But when it comes down to it, Lyme disease especially, and anything else that's rare or just, I don't even know what to say, anything else that I'm not familiar with. One thing I want to stress is the not only palliative, I guess you can call it palliative, but oils help with symptom-based management like no other. So I don't want to use oils to treat Lyme. I want to use oils to treat their symptoms. And let's get to the root cause of the actual Lyme disease. And then let's try, and let's get to the healing internally. But why would we want them to take, an over-the-counter drug pill or over-the-counter sleep aid to help them sleep when they can use maybe some lavender or some chamomile that knock them out? And actually, you know what? Internal use of lavender chamomile is very safe. Put a little bit in a coconut oil in your spoon and have it. Like, that will help people calm them down. And so that's what I want to stress when it comes to anything like Lyme disease. But interestingly enough, oils like peppermint, clove, and citronella have been shown to deter ticks. So for those people especially the Midwest and other areas where it's tick season, I want them to have a good non-DEET, right? I don't want them to have Agent Orange on their skin. I want them to have a good, healthy bug repellent that will actually deter ticks.
Okay, great response. Another question came in, very relative, especially for our healthcare practitioners. If somebody's looking to use a lightly scented or an unscented hand sanitizer oil compound, is there any recommendation that you have?
So to make a home-based hand sanitizer?
Well, if somebody works in a hospital, and hospitals are scent-free zones, some people's workplaces are also scent-free zones. And if somebody wants to use a hand sanitizer or make one at home.
Yeah, they have to make their own. 9 times out of 10, there's going to be triclosan or some other harmful chemical, or there's going to be an ungodly amount of alcohol that's just going to dry and hurt the microbiome on your skin. You know, Sachin, one thing we don't talk enough about is the skin microbiome. I mean, we're all eating out of the gut microbiome, but folks, what do you think? Remember, go back. What do you think the first layer of your immune system is? It's your skin, and we're drying it out. We're causing leaky skin. I'm coining it. Mind you, I'm gonna trademark it. Leaky gut. We are causing leaky skin by drying out our skin with these hand sanitizers and other things that cause little micro tears in your dermal layers, and then chemicals can seep in your bloodstream. It's horrible. So think about that. And yes, it's really easy. Again, to create a homemade version of hand sanitizer, you get a spritzer bottle, 20 drops, so it's not too much, about 20 drops of an organic grain alcohol like Everclear, 20 drops of witch hazel, which acts as an astringent, 20 drops of an essential oil, and virtually any, because they're all antimicrobial, and they all have bacterial or antifungal properties to one level or another. But you want to use one for what you're looking for. Like if you want one to elevate mood, put orange and citrus in it. If you want one to help calm, put lavender in it. If you want one to excite, put peppermint in it. Just think about it in those terms. And then you fill it up with water, good to go. Like this is your hand sanitizer. That is just so much of a safer alternative.
Yeah, I thanks for that answer. I guess what she was asking, is there anyone that has any oil that has a low odor for scent-free zones that you recommend?
Oh, no. Like
No,
at all.
okay.
By virtue of that, yeah, I'm sorry. But anyway, preaching my hand sanitizer. No, by virtue of they're all strong. Every one of them. I mean, it would mean you would have like one drop in to have a minimal odor, but then again, the effectiveness wouldn't be there as much. So yeah, that's the thing. That's the one thing about essential oils, and you can't escape the odor at all. That's unescapable.
Okay. And then another question comes in about autistic children, if there's any recommendations for children with autism.
Same that we just talked about with the learning disabilities and the ADHD. There has been, Dr. Friedman, I believe Michael Friedman's the name. He published a study out. It's been on the internet for years. Lavender is one that's really been helping kids. But no, nothing other than what we already know from just, again, learning disabilities and help focus cognitive ability. We're still eluded by autism. We still don't really understand what to do, unfortunately, in the aromatherapy world.
Yeah. Can you comment on cilantro and heavy metals?
Yeah, it's not what you think, believe it or not. Cilantro herb is very effective as a, iron chelator, am I correct?
Heavy metal chelator.
Yeah, but iron specifically, isn't it? Either way.
I thought it was mercury.
Okay, my mercury. Either way, it's a heavy metal chelator. It's not the same because, again, the plant compound, the structure of the plant compound is completely different in its whole form because there's volatile, evaporating, and non-volatile, heavier compounds in that. So that helps the body chelate heavy metals. With oils, we don't see that. We actually see oils like lemon and clove. Clove is one that comes over and over again when it comes to iron chelation. When we look at it, and I'm forgetting a couple other folks. I'm sorry. Go to my website and type up detox because I have an article. It's a long article, and I talk about how to use oils to detox. But I quote what limited research we have on the oils that are known iron chelators, and there are a few, not dozens, but there are 5 or 6 or 7. But cilantro isn't really one of them, but clove is one. And the concept is the antioxidant property too. So any oil that has a higher antioxidant property, like clove, like oils high in D-limonene, which is a strong antioxidant compound, also known to kill cancer. That would include grapefruit and all the citrus oils, dill included. Any antioxidant can help with iron chelation as well.
Okay, beautiful.
Yeah.
Allison is asking about wintergreen for pain, and if you have any also experience with helichrysum.
Yeah, I love helichrysum. Helichrysum is known as Immortelle. It is the anti-aging oil, and it's beautiful. It's great for beautiful, vibrant skin. And when it comes down to it, healing, it's exceptionally healing, especially for people that are dealing with psoriasis, eczema, any real health condition or skin condition, especially folks, you all know, right? And I know I'm preaching to the choir, but the gut, skin, brain connection, people that have gut issues, they're going to find themselves having emotional, mood, mental disturbances, and outbreaks in the skin. And that's something that could help them as well as you work with them to heal the gut. You can also use oils like helichrysum. Wintergreen is exceptionally powerful, a very similar compound to aspirin, the methyl salicylate. You want to be careful. Internal ingestion isn't recommended, but topical use is very safe if diluted properly and applied over problem areas like joints and contusions and other things.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how about some basic stuff like earaches?
Yeah, don't put oils in the ear, please. Don't put oils in the nose. Be very careful around the eyes. You can use oils as suppositories. You be careful, though it has to be diluted. But around otitis media, we have the go-to ones are tea tree and lavender specifically. And what you do is you actually apply the oil on the mastoid bone or even around just the ear itself, the cartilage of the ear, or really just there, just to have the vapors of volatile organic compounds emit into the ear. It can help. It can do wonders. Here's something to consider. I want people to realize this. Another take-home message is when you're working with a patient, and vaginal infection is a perfect example. You know, going back to the book, Jane Buckle's book. I love this book. She's one of my favorites. She insists that a tea tree lavender tampon after 3 days will knock out 99.9% of all vaginal infections. When you're a woman dealing with that situation, or a guy with jock itch, telling them they need to give something 3 days is gruesome at best at times. And so I want you to keep in mind that essential oils are almost as effective as drugs most of the time. Almost. Drugs, there's a reason why people want drugs. And there's a reason why drugs are as potent as they are. They will sometimes and oftentimes outperform oils. They might be quicker. They might be more powerful in a number of different ways, but they don't come without a cost. And so for me, what I do is I educate people like, okay, you have a choice. You could try to knock this thing out quick and guarantee yourself to have residual effects. Because I guarantee you, there is no drug on the planet that is symptom-free, that is side effect-free. Or you could go a natural route first, give it an extra day or two, and see what happens. And if you use it the right way, there's no side effects. Like there's virtually no reported side effects if you use oils the right way, if the person isn't allergic to them. And by the way, you can be allergic to oils. That's another myth out there. You can be allergic to virtually anything. So that's something to really consider. Put things into perspective for people. Like literally put things into perspective, because if their hopes get up and they don't get the desired result, it's on us. And I always tell people, like, look, I'm not saying they're going to cure death, but why don't we try it? And why don't we have just good, proper understanding? And if the expectations are there, I think people will be a lot more satisfied. We'll give it a little more time.
Okay. And another popular question that comes up is asthma.
Oils can trigger asthma as easily as oils can help open up the airways and help. Just be careful. Like really, at the end of the day, there are a lot of respiratory oils. We mentioned them. A lot of these go in the same way as the analgesic ones, like peppermint, spearmint, Ravensara litsea, the eucalyptus. These are oils that really can help open up the airways. However, you just got to be cautious. Like really be cautious. Oils can do a great deal for children. Really can help. Peppermint's one of my favorite for a lot of different reasons. Actually, peppermint has shown increased VO2 max and shown to increase athletic performance in college athletes, clinical trials on this stuff. But you don't want anything to trigger anything in asthmatics. So you just got to be cautious. And this is where having an aromatherapy inhaler and testing. And so here's a rule of thumb. You want to make sure that you, on yourself, on your patients, on your family, do what's known as an organoleptic evaluation. And in my opinion, people should be doing this with everything, whether it's a supplement, a probiotic, whether it's whatever. I don't care what new intervention, whether it's an over-the-counter. People need to see and experience an intervention before they dive into it. And that's what organoleptic is. It's like, how does this new thing, oil, supplements, whatever, interact with your body through the 6 senses: taste, feel, touch, experience. So if you get an essential oil, so basically, let's say you have an asthmatic in your office, you're like, hey, let's see how peppermint responds. Literally open up the bottle of peppermint and let them smell and just observe. And if the individual starts to cough and starts to have a wheezing attack, that's obviously a bad experience. And you'd much rather do it in an isolated, controlled environment where you take the intervention away than send them home to something they can hurt themselves. In the same way, you want to teach them, like, look, before you just start slathering your body with stuff, put it on, like, on your skin. Try a skin patch test, like how you would testing a corner of your carpet before you clean your whole carpet and stain it. You know, dilute it to 1 to 2%. Put it on the back of your hand. See how your body responds. Do you get hives? Does it affect? Nothing. I mean, you just need to know. Just, again, a preliminary test. Believe it or not, you should test everyone before you really start to use it. You have to see. So before I put any oils in my diffuser, I'm opening up quick. I take a quick whiff, just a quick whiff. And as long as I get nothing negative, I'm good. But I'm telling you, some people have an adverse response to certain oils. It doesn't mean the oil's bad. It just means the oil plant chemistry is different than it's interacting with your body chemistry in a negative way. And that could trigger headaches. That could trigger nausea, could trigger post-traumatic stress. Just a little bit of prevention goes a long, long way with essential oils.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing that we have to realize is just because they're available over the counter, it doesn't mean that we shouldn't take the necessary precautions because of their therapeutic power.
Yeah.
One question comes in is, what would you recommend for, again, it's hard to avoid these type of questions, but what would you recommend for Hashimoto's or thyroid nodules?
So I can count the amount of research studies that specifically talk about thyroid on one hand. And I'm not saying it doesn't work, but I think it's really important to recognize. And I'm telling you, folks, I spent a lot of time on this. I wanted to have a chapter in my book on thyroid conditions, and I couldn't because there's just the information's not there. So what I found is just working with people and lots of people, helping people, talking to people, getting questions, is there are remedies that people use, like diluted frankincense seems to be the magic bullet for a lot of folks. So diluting frankincense over the thyroid, I don't know what it does. People can't explain it. But we do know that there are hormone balancing oils like frankincense, like clary sage, like lavender, and like geranium and ylang-ylang. These oils just have a tendency, especially women, to help balance hormones, reduce menopause, PMS symptoms, help with labor and delivery. And in my opinion, and sandalwood too, can't forget, in my opinion, what they do and what I have seen them do is a concept known as harmonization. You know, this is fascinating, Sachin. There's been research trials on ylang-ylang showing that ylang-ylang on the same patient can literally increase blood pressure and decrease heart rate, which, you know, is counterintuitive. Whenever someone's heart rate increases, their blood pressure should increase. Well, it doesn't happen. Basically, what ylang-ylang does is create homeostasis, which is wild. If you think of it, it's like literally giving your body what your body needs to heal itself. We don't understand it, but it's a known harmonizer. Same thing for sandalwood. So at the end of the day, you use these oils that have been known to create harmony in the body for conflicting physiological measures. And the chances are it can help with thyroid conditions, but we don't know. We don't. But I would have no problem recommending anyone with Hashi to say, hey, here's a 2% dilution of frankincense, sandalwood, ylang-ylang, and lavender. Go for it. Try it for a couple of weeks. See what happens. And that's the other thing, folks, 3-4 weeks max of any intervention. I'm convinced beyond a shadow of a doubt, the research just over and over and over confirms it to me that we should not be doing any intervention long-term, 3-4 weeks max. The body can start to develop resistance to things, and we want to keep things switching. And also, if you have an intervention, anything you're doing, if you don't find a desire, and correct me if you think I'm wrong, Sachin, but I'm just stubborn on this. If you don't see the result that you're looking for in 3 to 4 weeks, it's not going to happen 9 times out of 10. I could be wrong, but 9 times out of 10, if it's not happening in a month, it ain't going to happen. And I came upon this conclusion because I had to dive into the literature because so many people came to me and said, I'm dealing with this, I'm dealing with that. And I've been doing this for 2 years. And I was told, you know, paleo, perfect example. Dr. Z, I have serious gut issues. It's been 5 years and I've been doing paleo for 2 years and I'm still not doing better. I'm like, well, maybe it's paleo. Maybe that's not the diet for you. It's like, you can't do something over and over and over again, right? It's a definition of insanity and expect a different result. Maybe it's something else. I don't know. So, and please, I defer this to you. Do you think that's crazy? Like, how long do you give an intervention before you call it quits and try something else?
Well, I'm super impatient. So yeah, if something's taking 2 years for me to feel better, I would have given up a long, long time ago. And here's the thing: if we're working with the innate intelligence in your body, then healing occurs very rapidly. If we're trying to manipulate innate intelligence, then usually there's going to be it's going to be a very long and brutal process. So when we're in alignment, healing occurs very quickly. And one thing that I've that's kind of been on my mind, and I don't know if you have an answer for this or if anyone else does who's tuned in, is like we're big fans, and I know you are too, of getting the body into a parasympathetic state. So I would imagine that any oil that shifts the physiology into that parasympathetic state is going to enhance healing, for any condition. So regardless of whatever label you have or you've given yourself or your doctor's given you, anything that shifts you from a sympathetic fight or flight state into a rest and digest, heal and repair state is going to enhance the ability for anyone to recover. Have you done any of this, like with heart math, like and oils or aura rings and oils, just to see if people actually get deeper sleep using essential oils, or if they go into a deeper state of a parasympathetic tone with essential oils? Has that work been done at all? I'd be curious about that.
Yeah, not that I know of. But what you share makes a lot of sense to me. Again, why does Ylang-ylang come up? The anti-anxiety oil. Why does Bergamot come up on these things? Like, why do these healing oils that calm the system really stop the sympathetic response, heal the adrenals? I mean, there's things, but no, unfortunately, a lot of this is still experimental. But this is where you come into play, Sachin, because you're doing the research with your patients and you're helping people. And this is where I'm going to defer to you and be like, hey, y'all, like, I don't work with patients every day. Like, I'm a researcher, I'm a writer, I'm a speaker. I defer to you all to let me know what's working. And I want your stuff. Like, give me case studies and testimonials. Say, hey, Dr. Z or Eric, please, Eric, this is what I got going on. I just had a great patient interaction. Like, email me. Like, go to my website, check it out. Let me know what's going on, because I want to publish this stuff on my blog. 6 million people a year that want to see this stuff. I mean, please let me help you make you famous a little bit.
I'm going to actually do that. I'm going to hook myself up to my heart math, and then I can diffuse or smell various oils, and I can get an instantaneous response and feedback, and we can document that. That'll be pretty cool.
Awesome.
Burning question that's coming in about sage oil. Can sage oil be used the same way as the herb sage, which normally people burn to cleanse an environment, called smudging? Are you familiar if sage oil can be used? I know I've had some Reiki practitioners and other practitioners use a spritzer of sage oil. Is that, so maybe I'll defer that to you if you have any input or thoughts on that.
Yeah. So when whatever ancient travel cultures to today, when people utilize these methods, it's the essential oil that is, I mean, out of everything, you're not getting any sort of negative response from burning anything, because again, you're not emitting the vapors from the smoke, which can be carcinogenic. So when you think of it, I would much rather diffuse essential oils than burn incense. I mean, just to me, it just makes a lot more sense logically, and you get that. Frankincense is burning frankincense, also known as dupe, is a practice in India, right? That a lot of folks utilize, and it's very cheap in India to get frankincense resin. And I've been told by practitioners that it's a spiritual practice to cleanse the house of spiritual negativity, darkness, evil spirits, to cleanse the house physically. Ward off vectors. It's antimicrobial. So people are, they're burning frankincense resin. Same thing when it comes to but again, what are they doing? If it's evaporating, that's the volatile organic compound. By burning it, you're emitting the VOC. By diffusing it, you're emitting those VOC. So to me, diffusing it, or nebulizers, that's another one. High concentrated essential oils, those things can do great. So the answer to that is yes. And also, let's expand our understanding and expand our usage of it, because the sky's the limit with this stuff.
Okay. And the oil that's referred to as the king of oils, frankincense. Do you want to give us like a 30 to 60-second primer on frankincense?
Yeah, frankincense became really popular because one of the main multi-level marketing companies funded a bunch of not bunch, like a few studies on cancer, and they shown that frankincense in vitro, can kill cancer cells, and it became just super popular. And it's very effective in a number of ways, boosting immunity. Frankincense has a chemical known as B-elamine, which has been shown to kill cancer cells. And it's been great for anti-inflammatory conditions. We've already mentioned a lot of it for pain, for concentration. Going to India, why they use it for meditation and spiritual practices. Ancient Egypt used to burn it, char it, put it under their eyes. That was their eyeliner for some the subcultures in Egypt for meditative. It's very potent for anti-aging as well, cellular rejuvenation, a lot of different things. But you know what? So are other oils. So are copaiba, and so are orange, and so are XYZ. And at the end of the day, here's what I'd rather you leave with. Instead of thinking, okay, it's frankincense for everything, go back to nature, and let's go to Australia for a minute, where tea tree and eucalyptus are in abundance. What do you think the Aboriginals use for virtually everything? Tea tree and eucalyptus. What do you think Indians use for a lot of stuff? Lemon and frankincense, because there's a lot of lemon in India. There's a lot of frankincense. What do you think people in Haiti use? Vetiver, because there's a lot of vetiver root. So when you go back to it, cultures from the beginning of time use what God gave them locally. And we see that a lot of these oils do the same thing. I call peppermint my MVP. There's virtually nothing peppermint can't do. Peppermint can excite, peppermint can calm, peppermint can heal, peppermint can soothe, peppermint XYZ. I mean, there are very, very few things that these oils can't do when it comes down to it. So anyway, think that too, that there is more than one way of painting a wall, and for every one approach, you can have another, if that makes sense.
Okay, great response. And I never thought of this, but when you nebulize, do you recommend water or saline?
Okay. Oh, yeah. Good clarification. I'm actually saying a nebulizer, which in the aromatherapy world is different. So you have a diffuser, which has a water tank, which about 100 to 150 milliliters of water. You put 5, 6, 7 drops of oil in it. Done. A nebulizer is a glass tank where you put oil straight, 15, 20, 30 drops, and it literally vibrates at such a high speed, it breaks the volatile organic compounds in the air. We're talking pure concentrated. Like, this is medicinal use. Diffusers are more for just, kick out the Febreze. The diffusers are good for just nice, gentle, aromatic benefits. But when it comes to a nebulizer, it's a special thing where you can just type up aromatherapy nebulizer and you'll see what I'm talking about. And you don't want to have that thing on for more than 15, 20 minutes at a time, because I've done it. Like, it'll get you woozy. It's super concentrated.
Okay, thanks for the distinction there. I appreciate that. I've shared your book, so the link is in the chat group for those of you that want to pick it up. It's a fantastic book. I do want to give you a plug. Like, it's loaded with information. It's over 300 pages of content and lots of references, which I know our clinicians will appreciate. You've got recipes. Your wife and yourself have put together recipes for virtually everything. And I just want to read some of the table of contents here. So for those of you that are interested in this information, Dr. Eric's got a few resources for you. One is the masterclass, for which I shared the link, and the other one is his book. So he's trying to get this information out to the world. So from one clinician to another, let's help him do that. Share this information with your patients, invite your patients to the masterclass. Like, feel free to share the link that I shared with you. Share this on Facebook. This information, like, if you found this information valuable, just type in amen and in the chat group, so we know that this is resonating. So he talks about the essential oil revolution. He talks about essential oils for healing yourself, personal care products around the house, for athletes, for premenstrual syndrome, for fertility, for candida, for autoimmunity, for menopause, postmenopause. Like, he's got it all. Like, this is like more than a lifetime's worth of work. So I really want to honor you for sharing this book with me, for giving me the pre-release copy. Thank you. And for delivering this information to the masses. And you can see the chat, it's going crazy there. People just love this information. And, essential oils, just, I feel like they're so potent. They're so powerful. They're so gentle, right? Because they come with minimal side effects. They can be used therapeutically. They can be used recreationally. Like if you just want the place to smell nice, you can do that. If you want a cleaner environment, if you want to sanitize, there's so many powerful benefits to these oils. And it's I know we've been using them for thousands and thousands of years, but it's no surprise that they've really taken off as of late, because people are looking for alternatives, and people are looking for, you know, interventions that have minimal to no side effects, and essential oils are just that. They provide so much therapeutic value, but there's so much to know about them. And it's not like you have to go back to like medical school or chiropractic school or research tons and tons. But I think that every one of us should understand the foundations, the principles, and that's what your master class does. And you know, can you talk a little bit more about that? Because I really do want. I'm taking it right now, and I want everyone else to really benefit from that. So maybe you can touch on that a little bit.
Yeah, thanks, Sachin. We have a free global viewing of Premiere starting February 20th. So you can sign up today. It's free, absolutely free. And you can indicate whether or not you're a healthcare practitioner or essential oil business builder, because we'll have some special information for you in after the master class. And we're just going to cover it from February 20th to March 1st. We're going to go A to Z, and you're going to like it. You really are. I mean, the feedback I've gotten from people, whether they've been using essential oils for 20 years, whether they're brand new, resounding, people are like, I feel more confident. I feel more equipped. And that's the goal. That's the goal. And I want to leave you all with something as healthcare practitioners. And I hope you join me in this challenge that we create a movement where our clients, our patients, our followers don't really need us anymore. And we give them what they need. We give them the fishing pole to teach them how to fish, to be the sage, to be the guide, to be the mentor, the teacher. And they'll come to you still. You're not going to lose money. Trust me on this. And you'll get more referrals than what you can handle. But teaching people the fundamental principles on how to take care of themselves. And when it comes down to it, showing people how to manage their own symptoms. When a child, like my child, has had 102 temperature, what to do. Not have to go to the hospital, not to freak out when you stub your toe. You know, Sachin, I don't know if you saw, I referred to you in my actually, can I read something?
Sure.
Man, I read this in my master class, but I think you guys will get a kick out of this. This is the introduction to my book. This is so powerful. I just can't get over just what's happened in our society of where we've gotten in demanding, I hope I can find it, demanding drugs, demanding medical interventions. There was, a Medscape report shares a shocking story. Oh, page 11, by the way. You can follow along, Sachin. Hey, follow along, Dr. Z. So page 11, Essential Oil Revolution, Part 1. Folks, this is what we're dealing with. This is why essential oils are so profound. Medscape report shares a shocking story of one physician who blames patients for the misuse of medical treatments because of the sheer volume of people who, quote, flood urgent care centers seeking care for run-of-the-mill ailments such as simple ankle sprains, sore throats, or diarrhea for one day, sunburns, and the list goes on. And this physician goes on to say, none of us would even consider seeing a doctor for such common, trivial matters. The physician stated in an interview, he says, I see about 50 patients a day, and easily 75% of them have no business seeing me. 80% of them are expecting antibiotics. Can you relate? What am I saying? Let's teach your people not to need us for this stuff. So you could do the fun stuff that I know you want to do and you went to school for. Let's empower them so they could take care of their stubbed toes and fevers and blisters and things so they don't go. And let's give them power back, because here's what's happened, people. Our patients, our clients, our followers are completely inadequately, woefully prepared to take care of themselves. They don't know how to cook. They don't know how to grow their food. They don't know how to take care of their families anymore. Why do I love essential oils? Because it's one thing that gives them immediate empowerment. Immediate empowerment, that they go to their medicine cabinet and they know what to do, and they're like, wow, I get immediate relief. So I want you to join me on this mission, because we literally can change the face of healthcare one person at a time.
Powerful stuff, man. I got goosebumps. I don't know if you can see that or not, but this has been very enlightening. And I know we could pick your brain all night. I know I could listen to you speak all night and for several hours. And I'm super stoked about the masterclass. And I know everyone tuned in certainly is. And you've kept all of us on here. You know, you've kept our attention for the last 90 minutes. So thank you so much. I know you got to get back to your lovely family. I'm going to be sharing the replay for those of you that are tuned in. So you be sure to catch that. We're going to share some of the links that Dr. Eric provided, and I'll make note of those books, and I'll share the links for those. So for those of you that want to pick those resources up, certainly you can do that. And everyone's commenting saying they're super pumped for the masterclass. So thank you, my friend. Thank you so much for your time, your graciousness, your knowledge, and for sharing this moment in time with us, and for blessing us with all the research that you've done over the past few years.
Awesome, man. I love you. I appreciate you. I really do, Sachin. You're a good man.
I love you too, brother. And, for all of you that are tuned in, I'd love to give Eric a nice farewell and a nice thank you. So just post your comments in there. And Eric, if there's any parting words that you'd like to share with us, the stage is yours.
I'm good, man. I just did it. Don't get me started. I'll go in for another hour and a half. Thank you so much, y'all, for spending this evening with me. It is an honor. It really is. I value you. I appreciate you, and I love you.
Okay. Well, give Mama Z a big kiss. Give your kids a big kiss from me. And I'm sure I'll see you soon. I know our paths will cross shortly. So until then, my friend, I will see you in the masterclass.
Bye-bye.
Okay. Bye. Good night, everyone.